Bro, what up? So we all know with the Brooklyn Nets 2021, they're finally going to have a healthy Kevin Durant and a healthy Kyrie Irving on their team. Now they are looking for a third quote-unquote star player to form a big three. Now we've all seen they've been always trade rumors of Bradley Beal, Victor Oladipo, and kind of along the lines of somewhere in that same premise. For me, I've always stated in a most ideal big three on their team and franchise would actually be Lamarcus Aldridge. Lamarcus Aldridge is 35. He tried to go to the San Antonio Spurs to play for a contender to win a championship back into 2016. That was not the case. They've only gone to a conference finals appearance and then lost, I believe, a second round appearance and then lost in the first round and another first round. And Lamarcus Aldridge is now stuck with the Spurs, trying to relieve himself and get traded. I think if you're Brooklyn, why the reason you bring in Lamarcus Aldridge? Again, he's 35. He wants to play for a contender. And to win a championship, he cannot be your first option, of course. I don't believe he can be your second option. I think he'll be a perfect and ideal third option for their team. He can kind of play that he can actually play that Chris Bosh type role with Miami. Now, if you're Kyrie and KD, you're a point guard, you're a small forward, you need the ball in your hands, you play ISO, and you can give 30 a night each. So basically, it makes zero sense to bring in Bradley Beal, who is a star player who needs the ball in his hands, and who's young. You need someone who's a little older in age. That's a veteran. That's pretty much, is in a huge demand in his career to win a championship. So Lamarcus Aldridge, he will take a pay cut to join that team and play for them. That's probably the best fit out there for his career in any franchise, trying to win a chip in his role. I would love to see Lamarcus Aldridge at the power forward. You would have DeAndre Jordan at the 5. That front court would be something special. And then for the shooting guard position, hopefully you can still have Karis LeVert on the team. If you don't have him, you can bring in Wesley Matthews at your 2. And even if you still have Karis LeVert still in your franchise, I actually think that Karis LeVert would be a better fit to be a sixth man off the bench, since he's a scorer out there. He likes to have his own thing, and you can have Wesley Matthews if you sign him in free agency, put him at the 2. I think a starting lineup of Kyrie, Wesley Matthews, KD, Lamarcus Aldridge, and DeAndre Jordan is a formidable and traditional starting championship contending starting 5. That's just how I kind of see things if I'm kind of running the show. That may not be the case, of course. But, let's just kind of jump into here. Steve Nash is now the head coach for the Brooklyn Nets. You did bring in Mike D'Antoni as an assistant. I really do like that move, bringing in Mike D'Antoni. And Mike D'Antoni, we all expected him to be a head coach for like the Pelicans or maybe even, some of these other franchises as well. But this is the best move for Mike D'Antoni. He will win an NBA championship, but it's going to be as an assistant coach. I don't know what year the Brooklyn Nets will win a chip, but Kevin Durant will win a championship with the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not saying it's for 2021 or 2022. That's to be determined, but mark my words, he's going to win a championship with Brooklyn, with Kyrie Irving. But yeah, Steve Nash is now the head coach. Brooklyn's now in that retooling position. It kind of baffles me how everyone is dismantling the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant. The Brooklyn Nets are going to be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference next season. I expect Kevin Durant to actually win the regular season MVP award. You got to remember, the Brooklyn Nets finished around 8 seed last season with a losing record, and it's going to show Kevin Durant's, how valuable he is to the team and franchise. When they're going to come from 35 wins to pretty much they're going to be around in that. Well, it's going to be a 72 game win season, so I actually expect them to be around, low 50s or high 40s. But basically, their win percentage is going to be a top 2, top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Kevin Durant, even though he is coming from a year-long injury, Kevin Durant does not base everything on athleticism. His game is very crafty. He'll take jumpers. He has the height to do so. And I expect him to actually be around 90% to what he was. I'm not going to be like Max Kellerman, who expects Kevin Durant to never really recover and be the same guy. No. I think KD will win the regular season MVP award if he remains healthy. He's going to pretty much keep the same stat line. All the offense is going to be on him and Kyrie, so he's going to average 30 a game easy on the Brooklyn Nets. And they're going to be a top 2, top 3 seed in the East. There's really no other. They're not going to give it to Giannis again. That ship has sailed. Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry and Luka are the second and third option to win MVP. I don't think Luka's going to be a top 3, top 4 seed in the West. So I would say no on that side. The Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry, I expect him to be a top 3 seed in the West. So if Steph Curry stays healthy, he has a great shot to win it. I don't expect LeBron James. He's going to actually let Anthony Davis, try to be the main guy. So James Harden, I don't expect it all whatsoever. So it's either KD, Steph, or Luka for me. Most likely either Steph or KD. I'm going to have to roll with Kevin Durant. But let me stay on topic here. They're going to discuss about the Brooklyn Nets for next season, 2021, and where they could be in potentially winning a championship and where Kevin Durant is at with Steve Nash. So let's jump in, give my take.
The return of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving as they come back from injuries. As of yesterday, an NBA title is definitely on Nash's mind. Steve?
We're playing for a championship. I don't want to say that anything less than a championship is not a success, because you never know what happens in life. You never know the way the ball bounces, and fortune is a big part of winning an NBA championship. But we are playing for a championship, and we're going to build accordingly.
Max, What are the expectations for Nash and these Nets?
Well, first of all, I totally disagree.
Wait, well, hold on, Mr. McKellarman. This is my time. The expectations for the Nets should not be to win a championship in 2021. It's not championship or bust. There's a lot of formidable teams in the East, let alone in the Western Conference with the Lakers. You do have a KD and a Kyrie Irving first season together with the new head coach, a rookie in Steve Nash. No one expected Steve Nash to be the head coach. No one at all. And Kyrie and Kevin Durant, KD, they're coming off big injuries. So things are going to have to progress. I actually expect the Brooklyn Nets to make it to the conference finals. I do expect them to probably lose to a Boston Celtics. Maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo, maybe new Chris Paul-led Milwaukee Bucks. I'm expecting right now the Boston Celtics to make the finals in 2021. Brooklyn Nets, I think it's a little tad bit early. I think in 2022 they will make the finals. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but I don't expect the Brooklyn Nets as of right now to make the NBA finals. I don't think it's their time as of right now, which I could be wrong. If it's not the Celtics, I expect the Brooklyn Nets. I really got to see what happens with Milwaukee if they bring in, a Chris Paul, anything along those lines. I don't expect the Philadelphia 76ers to make it to the finals. That's not going to happen. The Miami Heat, I think for them, they're probably going to lose in the second round, and they're going to go for Giannis Antetokounmpo in free agency. I don't expect in the NBA's best interest to have him back in the finals. It is what it is. I think most likely, if it's not going to be the Brooklyn Nets, the Boston Celtics. Again, my position is the LA Lakers are going to go back-to-back and win the championship. This is now going into the redemption years for LeBron James, so the NBA can pretty much push him to be the GOAT. I've always kind of stated I expect a three-peat to possibly be in the making. Now, that's really jumping the gun, but I was correct in my 2020 NBA championship prediction with the Lakers for around a year and a half or so. 2021 is kind of up in the air. There is a lot of formidable teams out there. I mean, in the West, you got the Warriors, you got the Lakers, the Clippers, and then you got the other tier of the Nuggets, Jazz, Rockets, etc., which is stacked. And in the Eastern Conference, you got the Heat, you got the Bucks, you got the Nets, you got the Celtics, you got the 76ers. I'm probably forgetting. The Raptors, we don't know if they're going to blow it up or stay the same. So the 2021 NBA season is going to have an abundance amount of stacked teams in the NBA. I don't think we've ever seen something like this ever. But in the Eastern Conference, I think if the Lakers are going to win the chip as expected, I think they'll go against a young team of the Boston Celtics and take them down. I'm really jumping the gun as of right now. Let me stay back and focus on the topic for the Brooklyn Nets. I'll let Max finish here.
Agree with what Steve Nash said. Fortune has a big influence on who wins the championship in the NBA insofar as health is concerned, and that does apply here. But once they start playing the games, if people are more or less at full strength, actually the NBA is the one sport where the best team almost always wins. I will say this, the expectations, he says championship, I get it. If the season starts and we find out that's still KD, then he's right. Then you should have, your expectation should be that you get out of the Eastern Conference because you have KD and Kyrie and several other excellent players.
Well, first of all, no, your expectations, it should be fine. It should not be championship or bust. It should be get to the conference finals. If you lose in the conference finals, that's still a great season. Now, the next season, 2022, that's to be to get to the finals and win the championship. Because typically with teams with a new dynamic duo and new projects, either your second or third season, you have to win the championship. Anything after that is pretty much a no-go. We still have to see if Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Joe Harris, and these young cats are going to stay on the team, if they're going to trade them out for another star, and how they're going to retool the bench. So that's still to be determined for free agency.
And Dinwiddie and a coach who obviously has a good relationship with his top stars. We'll see how he coaches. And Brooklyn is the backdrop, a city that's so thirsty for a basketball championship, an NBA championship. Hasn't had one since before I was born. I was born August 73. They won in January of 73. So I get it if he's healthy. But at this moment, we don't know that KD is the KD that we know. Right? We don't know how he's going to come back from the Achilles. Yeah. Because, as I was reminded by some members of the Seattle Storm, Breanna Stewart notwithstanding, Achilles almost always mean that the athlete's not the same going forward. If KD is 80% of himself, think someone like Paul George, right? Excellent player, an all-star, but not KD. Now, all of a sudden, if I said, what about if it was Paul George and Kyrie? Would everyone assume they're going to make the finals? I don't think so. Now, if he's KD, if he's 100% KD or close to it, get out of the East, man. You got enough. We do not know that. To assume that is actually to put too much on KD. Yeah. He has to be a 1 in a million medical case, including
and what if he is?
Billion.
Listen, the NBA and everything, I'm not saying things are scripted or rigged. I am, but I'm not. But looking at the storyline of a whole career and legacy, Kevin Durant will win a championship with the Brooklyn Nets. Kind of like, and this is not the same, but when LeBron went to Miami, won those 2 championships, and he left and went back to Cleveland, we all knew that he was going to win at least 1 championship with the Cavaliers, because the storyline was for him to bring back home a championship. With Kevin Durant, he pretty much piggybacked on Steph Curry's kingdom and dynasty with the Warriors. He won those finals MVPs for Kevin Durant, but it still is not the same thing. KD will win a championship with the Brooklyn Nets. I expect Kevin Durant, he is 32 years of age as of right now. I expect him at around 33 to 34 years of age to win a championship in his last championship. I expect Kevin Durant to finish his career with 3 championships. He may get 2 finals appearances with the Brooklyn Nets. I would expect him to win 1 and lose 1 in no order. But Kevin Durant is going to finish his career with 3 championships. He's not going to go 4, 5, or 6. No, sir.
Player?
And what if he is? I understand that you say they should get out of the East. What about in terms of the West? How do they stack up?
Well, we have to see how. I don't think that they go all the way next year, but I do think if KD is KD, it's reasonable to have the expectations get to the finals. I don't think it's reasonable to have the expectation that KD is KD. So I have to say, as far as Steve Nash talks about fortune playing a role, in terms of the health of the team, it's got to help them.
Where are you on this?
KD is on the clock. That's where I'm at with it. Let's face reality here. We've talked about this in the past. KD electing to go to Golden State. Obviously, LeBron is getting a lot of shine. KD believes he's the best in the world. Hell, I believe he's the best in the world. He's that sensational. He's a scoring machine.
You said LeBron's best in the world. I think KD's best in the world. LeBron James is the best basketball player in the NBA. I've always stated this. People were going back and forth with Kawhi, Kevin Durant, Giannis, LeBron. It's always been LeBron. KD, he's in a weird spot because he got injured and he didn't play last season. Right now, my top 5 And this is going to depend because I got to see with Steph and KD. They haven't played in a while. But right now, I got LeBron number 1. Number 2, I have Kawhi Leonard. Number 3, I do have. I'll put Kevin Durant at number 3 as of right now. Number 4, I do have Steph Curry, and number 5, I do have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis has proven, or actually did not prove, once again in the playoffs, that he's that guy. And to be a top tier player in the NBA, Giannis has a lot to prove and learn this next coming season. Giannis this next season, he has to make at least the conference finals again. If he makes the NBA finals, then kudos to him. But that's ridiculous how he got dismantled by the Miami Heat. With Steph Curry and KD, they haven't played in a long time. KD has a new situation to where he's finally back to a number 1 guy, a number 1 option for a team. So we're going to see Oklahoma City Kevin Durant once again. Steph Curry, he's always been the same guy as a number 1 option, so I don't expect anything different. But I'm going to put Steph and KD, 3A, 3B. I'm going to switch it like that because they're both neck and neck. I want to see how they both present themselves the beginning of next season with, Steph Curry back to being on a team with him, Clay, and Dre being the only guys, and then KD back to being the number 1 guy like a Thunder type basis. So I'm going to leave it up in the air. So basically, I still got LeBron 1, Kawhi 2, 3 and 4, KD and Steph, whatever, and then 5 Giannis.
Career 27-point-per-game scorer, just like LeBron James is. He goes to Golden State, wins back-to-back titles, should have three-peated if he hadn't torn his Achilles. I mean, the bottom line is they would have beat Toronto. I think we all know that.
Well, that is debatable. The Toronto Raptors did have the size and length, and the Warriors never saw a team that can play, the defensive schemes like the Toronto Raptors, who were a unit and had size. The Warriors always steamrolled against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals because the Cavaliers were atrocious on defense. Now, the Cavaliers were formidable in 2015 because the star players were out, and they pretty much had to play like dogs out there, more on the defensive side because you didn't have the offensive or star talent. So they had to make up defensively. But besides from that, if the Warriors, they never went against a great team with the Cavaliers defensively after that. And the Warriors were pretty much toying around the Cavaliers. Now, with the Toronto Raptors, they were an offensive unit. Kawhi Leonard did not have the ball usage as a LeBron James. This was not the Kawhi Leonard system. It was the Nick Nurse and Toronto Raptors system. So Kawhi Leonard in the group played as a unit offensively, which I haven't seen that ball movement in a long time. And defensively, they had the size and the length. I think that series, and I predicted if Kevin Durant was healthy, that would have gone 7. I would have had the Warriors forced and would have won that 7th game. But, that's up in the air when it comes down to it. The Toronto Raptors and Kawhi Leonard, you got to give them the credit. They did win the championship, and Kawhi Leonard, he deserves to be, that guy after he won it. But, yeah.
Having said all of that, he decides to go to Brooklyn. You got a guy like Kyrie that was in Cleveland. Kyrie's talking about how, you're the first guy that I don't mind, taking a shot in the clutch rather than me, stuff like that. So LeBron goes to L.A. LeBron handles his business. He delivers a chip. He's the king again. The king has a crown again, as opposed to just calling himself the king for the last 3+ years. Now he truly is the king again. He's the best in the world. You, KD, you were not healthy. You come back, I still believe KD can average 27 in his sleep. Whether or not he's going to be the same remains to be seen. But remember, his success isn't predicated on his athleticism. He's 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan that has a handle and has a range that can rival Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. This brother is that elite. And so when I look at it and I look at the squad that Brooklyn has with LeVert and all of these boys and the kind of crew that they have together with a healthy Kyrie and a healthy Kevin Durant, there is no excuse not to make it to the NBA Finals. And if you go up against LeBron, LeBron is standing there as the king with the crown. What are you going to do?
2 things.
That's what this is about.
2 things. One, looking back on it, thank God Kawhi didn't sign with the Lakers like LeBron wanted him to. Because it would have cheapened.
Listen, That was never going to happen. Kawhi Leonard just won a championship. He was the quote-unquote best player in the world. Now, I didn't think he was. I thought he was neck and neck with LeBron. I had LeBron 1A, Kawhi 1B. I was giving Kawhi his respect. But Kawhi was the main guy. Even in free agency, people weren't really worried too much about Kevin Durant. I mean, even though he was hurt, but if they were both healthy, it would have been on Kawhi. If Kawhi still would have won that chip against a healthy KD, everyone was focused on Kawhi in free agency. This is the only time, and that's the only time his career in his peak to where he would have been in that spotlight position. Kawhi Leonard was the main guy in the NBA. Everyone was looking at him. He was never going to join the Lakers and backpedal and defer to LeBron and Anthony Davis. No, he took on the challenge to go to the Clippers. He didn't win his first season, as I expected, but, I mean, you still got 2 to 3 to 4 more seasons. I mean, Kawhi's in a fine position.
And the accomplishment.
No question.
That's something KD's got to understand. When he joined a 73-win team with another MVP on it and Steph and a great team, well, obviously if you win 73 games and won a championship, it's discounted. People are like, you didn't really prove anything because you could not win the title.
KD has a lot to prove. He hasn't proved anything as a champion so far, as a number 1 guy. KD on the Warriors, I credit those championships as a number 2 guy. Even though we won Finals MVP, even though we averaged 33 to 35 points a game, listen, whenever Steph Curry was out of the lineup anytime, Kevin Durant had a losing record being the number 1 quote-unquote guy on the team. Kevin Durant was out of the playoffs, and Steph Curry proved to everyone once again with Klay and Dre, they made the finals, and they swept the Portland Trailblazers in the conference finals. Now, if the Warriors never had Kevin Durant and they used that $25 million on, like a Harrison Barnes type role starter and some bench pieces, they would have beaten the Toronto Raptors in the finals. And if Klay never got hurt as well, let me repeat myself, the Warriors would have beaten the Toronto Raptors in the finals if Klay was healthy, let alone they used that $25 million, not for KD, but for like a Harrison Barnes type role starter and some role players. They would have.
That's what would have happened if Kawhi would have gone to the Lakers. The fact that he didn't, LeBron is standing. Yeah, he had AD with him, but other dudes had stars with them too. LeBron looks better for it. That's the first thing. And so KD did. It has to match that, right? He's on a good team. He has Kyrie, but it's not like they have 3 super-duper stars. Here's the other thing. You're right. Just because he scores 27 points a game doesn't mean he's KD. And that's what I'm saying, Stephen A. Let's say Kyrie was with this version of Jason Tatum. I won't use Paul George because he did so poorly in the playoffs. But let's say he's with this version of Jason Tatum right now, which is a guy who might average 27 next year and be great, but maybe not an MVP yet. Would we be sitting here saying they have Tatum and Kyrie, they got to get out of the East?
That's
I don't
fair,
think so.
but let me throw.
Well, Kyrie already played with Jason Tatum 2 seasons ago. We expected them to get out of the East out of that time period, even though when you had big teams like the Raptors with Kawhi, the 76ers with Jimmy Butler, and then the Bucks with Giannis. So we'll give credit where credit's due with Kyrie and Jason Tatum, but I wouldn't say 100% they would get to the finals with those two now. No, sir. Listen, KD's another level from Jason Tatum.
By you. We keep talking about how KD, in other words, in terms of him capturing a championship, you still have certain things to prove. Okay? Let's keep in mind that even though he went to Golden State and he joined Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, he was still the best player on that team.
Yep.
KD.
No, sir. No, sir. Steph Curry was the best player on that team ever since Kevin Durant got there. When Steph Curry, after the 2016 finals, entering the offseason, Steph Curry was the second greatest player in the world. LeBron was number 1 because LeBron, retook the throne from Steph Curry during the regular season after he won the championship down 3-1. Everyone and their mom was talking about Steph Curry versus LeBron James, the 1-2. Everyone forgot about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was typically always number 2 to LeBron. LeBron's number 1. Now Kevin Durant was placed as the 3rd best player in the world. People were kind of forgetting about him. And Kevin Durant, even if he would have joined another team except for the Warriors, he was still not going to be the favorite to win the championship for any of those teams. If he stayed with the Thunder, they were not going to be favorites. If he joined the Boston Celtics, they were not going to be favorites. None of these teams whatsoever. He had to pretty much have a paradox and join the Warriors to where that's a team that beats LeBron and Steph Curry and them will kind of defer to him. But the thing is, it wasn't substantial. Kevin Durant was not that main reason why they beat LeBron or they were successful. They won 73 games without you. They didn't need you. And that's on Kevin Durant. And that's why he decided to leave the Golden State Warriors after 3 seasons. He couldn't take any more of the hate, any more of the exposure. He had to join the Brooklyn Nets. And he's trying to find happiness. He's trying to find himself after those burner accounts and whatnot. That's what happened.
Is all world. KD is great. And so once we get that out the way and we establish, the level of greatness is real. There is no denying that. Now, really, it's all about you going up against greatness and really validating yourself. You chose to go to Brooklyn. That's where you want to go. You want to join your boy Kyrie Irving because Brooklyn didn't want Kyrie without KD. We know that KD was their target. They settled for Kyrie to come with them because that was the package deal that they wanted. But in the end, now it's about stepping up and making sure to remind the world you're on that level. You're on that level. Now, he doesn't have to remind anybody that he's great because we all know.
No, see, I see it the opposite.
To this.
I see it the opposite. Remember how you were going at the analytics before, and basically people who go at analytics are saying it fails to capture some kind of human element. So
I'm not saying that.
But let me say this.
I'm just saying it should be the number one thing.
I understand, but I'm getting to something else. Michael Jordan was already the goodest player in the world before he won a championship. He was way better than Magic and Bird and everyone else before he ever won a title. But he proved his greatness by winning a championship. This is something where I depart with the analytics community. I do think that championships prove something about what's inside, right? I think that greatness comes from that. Not just how excellent you can be, but there's an added dimension. That's why it's so important for KD now. We already knew he was the goodest, right? We knew he was better than Steph before he got on that team. What we want to see is, can you be great when your team needs you to?
Wait. Hold on. let me repeat what he said. Hold up.
Before he got on that team.
Wait, hold on.
Important for KD now. We already knew he was the goodest, right? We knew he was better than Steph before he got on that team.
No, Max Kellerman, take an L. Stop talking basketball. Kevin Durant was the 3rd best player in the league. People were barely even talking about him anymore. It was all Steph Curry and LeBron James. Steph Curry was head over heels over Kevin Durant in his career by then. Steph Curry won a championship already as the number 1 guy. He won 2 regular season MVPs. He won 73 games all time. Steph Curry in 2016, that regular season, was the greatest performance of a single player all time. You can debate Michael Jordan in 93 or any other year from that, but Steph Curry right there is at least or at most a top 3 all-time best performance for a regular season MVP. I don't want to hear anything on that.
What we want to see is, can you be great when your team needs you to? And the fact is, the Warriors were so good it never came to that. So what he has a chance to do in Brooklyn now is to prove his actual greatness. Can he lead a team that's not necessarily supposed to win the whole thing to the promised land?
I don't think it's a matter of greatness because I don't think anybody questions it. I think it's about who you go up against. When you're going up against that dude, listen, you want to talk about what really validated Jordan's greatness? Well, your first title was over Magic, even though Magic was obviously beyond his prime. The second title,
Magic was I think he was 31 years of age. This notion that Magic Johnson was old his first finals, it was absurd.
The title was against Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter and those boys in Portland. We saw what Jordan did to them. The third one was against Barkley, and people keep forgetting that Kevin Johnson was the real deal, and Dan Marley. Then you got GP with Sean Kemp before he became Sean Klump. You had Utah with Stockton and Malone. And then en route to going to the finals, whether it was Ewing and the Knicks, whether it was Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers, the list goes on and on. You were not in Cleveland. People were getting Cleveland. Even when they didn't win the championship, before they won the championship, you had Mark Price, you had Larry Nance, you had Matt.
All right, Steven, get to your point.
In these boys.
This is what KD. This is why I'm saying KD has a different kind of opportunity now. The thing about Jordan, everyone you just mentioned, Stephen A., a lot of really, really good teams, some great ones.
Hold up. Kevin Durant is not on the level with Michael Jordan. Kevin Durant will not be in that same room as Michael Jordan. I don't want to hear that. He's not even in the same room as him. even if KD wins the championship, which I expect him to, not for this season, but pretty soon, in the next 2-3 seasons, he's going to win one championship with the Nets. And I think he's going to finish his career with 3. But if he wins that championship, he's going to be around. He's going to be a top 20 player of all time. I doubt top 15. I would have to really evaluate and make a list and think about it. But top 20, yeah, you probably have to do that. But yeah, no, don't compare it to Mike.
Never thought any of them dudes were better than Michael Jordan, period. Jordan never had to slay the monster because he was
That's why I'm saying slay the monster.
Right, because he was the monster. Muhammad Ali had to slay the monster. He's a big underdog against Sonny Liston and George Foreman. There's some added component that we remember differently that proves something about the intestinal fortitude and stuff like that, the greatness inside, when you're not the favorites, the overwhelming favorites, as KD was in Golden State. When you have an obstacle to overcome.
But he still went to the finals, and he still averaged 35 on 50+% shooting. When he said to LeBron, okay, I got a crew now. Now it's me and you.
But next year,
but this is why I'm saying next year.
No, flip it. An overloaded crew and a dynasty player, Steph Curry, got me. That's what it is. It's not the other way around. That was Steph Curry's dynasty and kingdom. Listen, two-dimensional thinkers thinks that was all Kevin Durant and whatnot. No. It was, listen, and I've always stated this before. Before Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, those Warriors entering 2017 were overwhelming favorites to take down the Cavaliers or anyone in the championship round. The Warriors were going to win 2017 by a long shot before they got KD.
He's on the clock. He's not on the clock because he was injured and now he's coming back. He's on the clock because of who the champion is now.
Yep.
That dude is somebody that you have quiet.
And this notion that the Warriors needed Kevin Durant to take down LeBron is the most biased narrative for propaganda out there. The Warriors did not need anyone to take down LeBron. And you guys can have your own thing here or there. Listen, look at the body language of Game 5, 6, and 7. You guys can believe that the league's scripted or not. Just know it's an entertainment league for a reason. There are storylines. There are quote-unquote scripts and what the NBA wants. Listen, the Warriors dropped down 40 to 50% what they usually did Game 5 and 6 and 7. They flipped the script. That was all acting. Steph Curry throwing behind-the-back passes out of bounds Game 7. Scoring like 16 points, 22, just ejecting himself. All this stuff, man. And I knew that it was scripted for the Cavs to win that after that. Just rewatch Game 5, 6, and 7 when it comes down to it. Basically, in real life, the Warriors did not need Kevin Durant. They would have kept their same team. They would have destroyed the Cavaliers the next season. The Cavaliers needed a miracle and a quote-unquote scripting to win that championship. Against those Warriors were a top 5 team all time. I don't care if they lost the championship. They were a top 5 team all time.
Declared, you are better than. And so that dude is going to be waiting. Even in his 18th season, he's going to be waiting. And KD, what you going to do? What you going to do? That's what we'll be looking for next season.
This is a debate show, but we were on the same page about that one, just the way it is sometimes, unfortunately for TV. We're on the same page. But check this out. LeBron James deserves all the credit in the world. I give it to him. The fact of the matter is AD might be the second best player in the world, right? Anthony Davis.
Oh, hey, don't ever put AD as the second best player in the world. Anthony Davis he's probably around number 6, number 7. Again, you have LeBron, you got Kawhi, you got Steph, you got Kevin Durant, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then now you're starting to look at Harden, Luka, and AD. AD's up in there. He's not number 2, no.
And when the two best players in the world, or two of the top 5 best players, get together, they almost always win the championship, period. That's what LeBron has. That's not what KD has. Kyrie is not one of the top 5 players in the world. May have one of the top 5 skill sets, top 5 talent. He hasn't put it together to call him one of the top.
And this is why LeBron James is not scared. LeBron has a 17-4 record against KD when KD was the number 1 option with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, with LeBron, his second option is not Dwayne Wade or Kyrie, who's 6'3" or below. His second option is a 7-footer who can score off the dribble in the post and is a top 7 player in the league, who's entering his prime. That's who LeBron James' second option is. LeBron James is chilling. KD's second option is Kyrie. LeBron's not worried about that.
5 in the world. And
he is a champion, no.
But he's not top 5. You wouldn't put him in your top 5. Okay.
No, but he's a champion.
And KD is coming off a catastrophic career-altering injury for most people who've ever had that injury.
If you're trying to come back too prematurely, this COVID-19 has helped. It's giving them additional time off.
Okay, I'm saying that just like KD did what he...
Real quick, which is crazy, KD won his first chip 27 and 28 years of age for his first two. It's wild because now I looked at it, and he's 32 years of age. That's crazy.
Didn't prove in Golden State. He has the chance to prove now differently, but there is also pressure on Kyrie.
It's all about LeBron.
Kyrie's got to step up.
If LeBron was not the champion, KD wouldn't be on the clock. But it's because LeBron is standing there waiting and saying, I'm still a king. If you're that dude, KD, you respond to that challenge.
Who's the underdog there?
Who's the underdog?
Yep.
It's definitely KD and Kyrie.
No doubt.
Without question.
That's the point. They're the underdog. They have a chance.
Brooklyn's got a good team
to do something special.
John Marks has done a hell of a job. Brooklyn?
Oh, Brooklyn has a great team. They should come out of the East.